My name is Krystal Camire. I'm 40 years old and I got diagnosed with Marfan syndrome officially 7 years ago. Um, but a lot of people who usually get diagnosed later on in life, unlike them, it wasn't a sudden thing for me. I knew about Marfan syndrome since I was a kid. I have pectus carinatum or pigeon chest. And when I was a kid, I went to an orthopedic surgeon and had to have my chest repaired and corrected, which is something I have in common with Luke, which is a very difficult thing to go through, especially when you're young. That's when Marfan syndrome was first mentioned. But my parents didn't really get, I think, a good understanding of what it was. I think it just kind of got lost in the medical jargon of what I was going through at that time with my chest surgeries. And I had 3 surgeries total on my chest um, uh, as I was growing up as well. But never really a lot of talk about Marfan syndrome. When I was 19, after I had been experiencing some pretty scary health events where I ended up in the ER quite a few times for chest pains, arrhythmia, not being able to breathe. I finally got a referral to the University of Washington, and then I had a clinical evaluation when I was 19 for Marfan syndrome. And also, like Luke, at that time, I was inconclusive. I had a lot of the key features of Marfan syndrome. I'm really tall, I'm really thin, but I'm also like really proportional. I have, an evenness about me that I guess is unique. um, so they said, well, we can't confirm that you have Marfan syndrome, but we can't rule it out. It's probable you do. And that was really where I kind of lived in for a very long time, in this area of limbo. It was a struggle for me to get doctors to listen to me or to take concerns seriously. It was, well, maybe it's Marfan, maybe it's not. Um, and I didn't really understand that much about Marfan syndrome myself uh, until I got to North Carolina, and I did like a lot of frustrated people do nowadays when they can't get answers. I turned to the internet, and that's where I found at that time the National Marfan Foundation, and I registered for some more information. And one thing that happened is I got a pamphlet in the mail with this is all the signs and syndromes of Marfan syndrome. And then the next thing I got a phone call. And that phone call changed my life because it was the first time I could have someone that I could talk to about what I was going through, the things I was experiencing, the kind of health issues I had that was coming up, and someone who could listen and get it and say, you know what, I think that sounds like something. And I went to a few different things with the Marfan Foundation to talk to people to get more information. I went to a support meeting in Seattle, and that's where I met Dr. Byers from the University of Washington. And Dr. Byers was able to see enough in me to want to do a genetic test. And that's when at 33 years old, I finally got my answer that I did actually have Marfan syndrome. I don't have a lot of the typical concerns. I've got really great vision. I have, pretty lucky, knock on wood, so far that I don't have a lot of significant aortic enlargement yet. But that still doesn't mean like I was going to be in the clear. And when you learn about being diagnosed with something as serious as what this condition is, you do go through every gamut of emotions when dealing with it, the anger, the pain, because you hear, the first thing you hear is the word incurable. And then the second thing you hear is the list of don'ts, the list of things you can't do anymore. All the like, man, all the fun stuff just got taken out of it. That's very hard to cope with when you're halfway through your life, to have to suddenly think about changing everything in your life. And you wonder, well, can I even, have the same kind of life that I enjoyed? And I had a very active, very on the go, kind of a lifestyle. And I felt like for a while, like I couldn't, like, could I even do anything? But I stayed connected with the Marfan Foundation because, they had helped me so much. And through that, being able to talk to people, you start to realize like that there are really wonderful things that you get from it. I take every opportunity that I get to help out and advocate for other people to learn about Marfan syndrome, because someone took the time and did that with me. And that meant the world to me at that moment. And I also had to realize that, like, okay, I can't change that I have this. So maybe I can change, how to still be the kind of person that I was, have the kind of life that I love, just, like with Marfan syndrome. So I still take every opportunity I have to create like new experiences and try fun things, as long as I keep it within my limitations. And then the other thing I've learned is that sometimes you gotta kind of find the humor and the good in with the bad. So my favorite thing is I like to call it my get out of free jail card, is that you can't do any heavy, strenuous activities. You can't do any sports. You can't go with your friends to play, a game of basketball. Well, I can't play football with my brothers anymore. Which those things are really sad to lose. But it also means that, every time I have a girlfriend that gets a wild hair and wants to try some new CrossFit class, I can say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. Because who wants to try CrossFit? Not me. I'm much more in the realizing that I can do things like still be active. I go on long walks in nature. I go for long bike rides. I still enjoy activity, but I enjoy activity that I know is safe and comfortable for me. And I have taken total control over how I choose to try to keep my lifestyle while still coping with this, because that to ground yourself with living with a constant medical condition, you have to have those times where you feel like you can get out and just live life again. And part of me getting out and living life again has been really, being involved with the Marfan Foundation, which means more than I can say, that there was something out there. There was a place that I could go to that was able to help me find answers, because without the Marfan Foundation, I would not have gotten a diagnosis.